Slow Ready Podcast, your casual drive into the music and culture of Goose. I'm Alex, joined as always by my co-host Mike, and we're here to recap the second half of this initial leg of Goose's summer tour. They got about a month and a week off here, but we got to recap what's happened so far. And before we get into our main topic, Mike, how you doing, man?
Doing great, man. A lot of shows this year and really excited with where Goose is at.
Yeah, we don't got a lot of news and notes. We got just shows to dive into, so no hot tea this week, but let's get into our flow down and start with the Raleigh shows. Mike, that's kind of your old stomping grounds. I mean, you weren't in Raleigh, but you were in North Carolina for a long time. And you went to these shows. So how about you read off this first set list from night one?
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but I actually went to high school in the Raleigh area. So I spent most of my years in North Carolina and Charlotte,
Oh,
but very much actually my old stomping grounds as well. So it was fun to go back, always fun to go back. And I really love this amphitheater. But
nice.
yeah, great night one. Started off with the Yeti, which I'm always a big fan of, Media, Mr. Action, Draconian Meter Maid, Drive, Travelers, Rockdale. And then in set two, opened up with a shocking Don't Do It, Big Modern, Redbird, Mississippi Half Step, Tumble, and How It Ends in the encore.
All right. I guess we're taking this one beat by beat because it's been a tremendous week-ish of shows, week and a half, I guess, since our last episode. And I love this show. So I kind of had notes on a little bit of notes on everything. So how about this Yeti opener?
Yeah, great opener. One of the best in the catalog. I could say that about like 50 Goose songs, but this definitely qualifies. It does the Daft Punk style jam, but nice to get this jam out of the gates, even if it's fairly similar to the norm. You get a little bit of improv and high energy right from the get go, and the crowd absolutely went nuts. So, yeah, great start here.
Yeah, they've really been feeling that 70s disco vibe with Yeti lately. I really feel like since the Goose Miss version where they were doing 70s all around, they just have kind of locked into that. And really, my main standout was the really slick transition into media. Like, if you like Cotterella shows, this set one was for you, man.
Oh, definitely. And I think that Media, one of the cool things about it, it's one of the songs in the catalog that I think is least dependent on length of the version to make it an impact. And so I think it works so well as a jam, but also in its more typically shorter arrangement like it is here. Just energy at a 10 starting out.
Yeah, and that really doesn't stop with this Mr. Action that comes right after either. Another tremendous Rick solo on this. One day it's going to spread its wings and fly, I feel like. It's just got such potential with that super catchy chord progression they lock into.
Yeah. There's like a really solid grouping of like 4 to 5 songs that are just known for having like extra fiery Rick solos. This is definitely one of them, and you just feel like all of them are set to bust out at some point. But this one was really good. I think that this was one of my favorite Goose sing-alongs of my 10 shows this year. Crowd was really, really into it, hanging on every word.
I gotta say that came through watching it from home too. I was especially locked into this show. So I had a buddy who was going to his first Goose show and also bringing his daughters to their first Goose show, and I was like, "Oh, I hope this is a cool one." And sure enough, they played like literally nothing they knew, and they still had a blast. Um, Two Cotter songs early. It's just like very unique situation. But
Yeah.
anyway, next up was another Cotter song, Draconian Meter Maid, and short jam on this one, but really love what they're doing with Draconian this year.
Yeah, I would still say this is the first significant jam of the evening. As we say all the time here, this song never misses, no matter how short it is. But I thought it just groovy first section. Peter and Trevor kind of have a mind meld here where Rick is mostly laying back and Peter has a great clav and then an organ party going on. And Trevor is just kind of densely weaving lines that intersect and move alongside what Peter's doing. Really fun to see the two of them playing around in a jam and primarily leading.
Yeah, that was actually my first sentence was Rick and Trevor really left an impression on me listening back. And it is very classic rock jam coded on this one in a lot of ways versus the bliss that we've seemed to have gotten a lot with Draconian. Although this year it's kind of proven to be the exception, not the norm like it had been in 2025.
Yeah, and just one other note about this, they definitely near the end hit the progression from the Draconian from New Year's Eve again from Austin, albeit in a more subdued and less rambunctious nature this go around, but it's the same chords played more gently an octave higher, and this just was a really cool bliss jam on the back half. So they did a lot in a short amount of time here.
Yeah, they did. I just love this song. This is like my song of
Yeah.
2025. I don't care what anyone says. It's just every version is like I'm adding this to my list, my playlist, not my Jam of the Year playlist, but like my playlist. I go back
Yeah.
and listen to a bunch. I have like 10 versions of Draconian on there already. Um, but anyway, let's keep moving. We got a lot of shows to cover, so this flows seamlessly into Drive here, and a little psychedelic on this one. More tremendous work from Trevor on this one. I mean, he kind of led the charge the whole way to my ear, even like driving what Cotter wound up doing on this. But what'd you think about this drive?
Yeah, mid length, but pretty solid. Does that ambient searching style early that so many past drives have utilized. Cotter ups the ante, I felt like significantly with some shuffling rolls that just sounded especially huge, especially against that initially sparse arrangement. And when they start picking up the pace in the last 5 minutes, there was a lot of cool sounding things in this jam. I'm not sure that all went to the potential places it could have gone, but there's a lot of cool interplay between the two guitars and bass, and it just never gets anywhere particularly new, but it's still really fun to listen back to.
Yeah, it just does what it does really well, and Goose kind of leans in some of the tropes that they do very well. But I was very impressed by that shift from the more atmospheric space to that more driving section, pun intended. And I really felt like what
Yeah.
Trevor did there was so slick.
Yeah, the rhythm section was on point. Cotter and him were really driving the action a lot of this evening.
He was Mr. Action on this night, Trevor, for sure. And then we got Travelers up next, one of your favorites. I don't have a ton of notes on this other than like, oh my gosh, Travelers. But what you think about this
Yeah.
run and then closing with Rockdale?
Travelers just came out of left field. Like in real time, like it was just so absolutely shocking to get it in this spot. This is my second time hearing it ever. So this is my second favorite song to Thatch. So thrilling for me. It always kind of does the same thing, but it does it in a very satisfying way every single time. It's just absolutely gorgeous to listen to. And then Rockdale, I thought, gave us an emphatic close to the first set. Very large and huge rocking jam. Not as complex as like the MSG version, but very fun and very fiery.
Oh my goodness. That MSG version is insane. I had
Yeah.
forgot that we had discussed that, but now I'm thinking about it again. But this Rockdale I thought was a great punch
Yeah.
too to close the set. A great big peak to close out on and ride into set break. But we open up set two with the second ever Don't Do It opener. And everyone, for some reason, on Blue Sky at least, seemed to see this coming. I'm not in the loop or understand why this was a thing, but if anyone has any insight on that, if you have any insight on that, Mike, let me know.
I have none at all. I burst into laughter when they started playing this because I was shocked. I thought maybe they're trolling us. So many thoughts went through my brain, but this was even more out of left field than Travelers, if there can be such a thing, because it was just so weird in this spot. But as soon as we got like 10 to 15 seconds in, I and the rest of the crowd was just absolutely in love with what was happening. So it was a really fun time, actually.
I kind of dig it as an opener. It sure beats it being like rushed in on a gurney during the encore break. Like, oh, we have 4 minutes left. Let's play. Don't do it. Like, this is an
Yeah.
emergency, you know?
Yeah.
So it was cool. And then, you get the jam of the night here with Big Modern up next. I'm going to let you gush because you've already raved to me like vaguely in our text messages, and I want to know what you think.
Yeah, so like what you said about Draconian, I think Big Modern's having the best year of any song in the catalog. There's so many good versions. I have a few in my top 10 already. Like it's crazy. This is one of them. I thought this was a very good initial groove, very fuzzy guitar god stuff from Rick coming out in the early off ramp from the song, and it just gradually ratchets up in intensity. Big bass from Trevor. It sounds like he's swallowing the jam up in the first section, to be honest, in the best possible way. And they're really firing on all cylinders by the 10-minute mark. It breathes a bit more and starts to resemble an early first phase of like a drive jam, like we heard earlier, very spacious and atmospheric. And there's a meditative quality to Peter's light keys progression that I really love, and busy and melodic lines from Trevor. And Rick kind of backs off a bit, which he did a few times this night, which is good to see because it's really just allowing for a lot of dynamic play from everyone. But they bring it back up around the 13, 14-minute mark, and we get a lot more dense. Now we've got Peter playing like all kinds of rapid runs, lots of textures. Rick's going breakneck pace. Cotter has his foot all the way down on the accelerator. And we move into like this Goons adjacent feel where it's still mostly driven by a hook that Rick finds and that Peter and Trevor kind of follow along. You get some like incredible driving rock bliss, but with that like Goon's accoutrement, I guess I would say. It's really, really good stuff. And I love how dynamic Goons is getting that I can't like just label it straight Goons anymore. It's like other stuff. It's morphing on us.
It is morphing, and I don't know that I could say it much better than you did, but that early part of the jam where it kind of resembled like the MSG Factory Fiction jam when they opened with it last year kind of vibes, very like chill portions of the TED tapes vibes to it. It was interesting to me the way they took that and ramped into the Goons because they wound up like elevating everything to an 11 and making like all those like soft tones more aggressive in such a cool way that I can't remember another jam quite like that. And then, yeah, like you said, post peaks where it gets really interesting. I don't even know what to label this flavor of Goons. I just said it reminds me of like being a teenager going to the arcade with the DVR machine in the background, like poppy, happy vibes to it. But such a
Yeah.
nice new flavor of Goons, man.
Yeah, it was just this weird mix where I'm like, this is like 70-30 bliss to goons ratio for me in my years. And so I don't know what to call that yet. A blintz, maybe. Who knows? But it's really, really good.
Oh my god. I don't know if we're that the best guys to be phrasing stuff. We're not that trendy because we're like old
Definitely
guys
not.
now. But we could roll with Blintz.
It was really good though.
Oh my gosh. And then the fun doesn't stop here. Get two kind of compact, straightforward but fun jams in Redbird and Mississippi Half Step. Tremendous, tremendous choices here. I saw a lot of people ragging on this Redbird, but I really liked the short jam on this one. Honestly, it's kind of giving me
Oh
the
yeah.
Maker vibes after Rick had guested on that with Dave at the Gorge last year a little bit. A little emotional, interesting groove to it. But then, got to talk about Half Step. Even if it's like a straightforward type one, stick to the tune, it is always mind blowing.
Yeah, I did want to talk about the Redbird because I saw a lot of the chatter about the Maker, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing because I mean it is basically a two-chord progression, but I think it's missing a few chords to truly resemble the Maker, and also it feels like they're playing this between A and C, which I mean I guess you could play the Maker in that, but it's not really played in that key, so um, I don't know. I thought it was actually very original for a Redbird, and this is not the direction that they typically take with this song. And so, even though it was compact, it was just like, hell yeah, doing something completely different. And then, yeah, of course, we love Blississippi on this podcast. There was a very solid Bliss jam, and the crowd was just absolutely filled with total joy getting to sing this one. The amount of happy faces I saw because I took a time to look around. This is my second one of the year, so I'm blessed enough to have seen it twice, and getting to look around the venue and seeing how many people were just in rapturous joy was a highlight of the night for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbeatable. I'm still chasing that, man. You're so lucky. I'll trade you an In Your Eyes for a Mississippi Half Step.
We just need to get one of each. Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I love it. Two Guitar Goose at its finest, even
Yeah.
if it's just straightforward Mississippi Half Step, man. Um, and then Tumble next up. Funk Fest all the way on this one. I thought it was a really solid
Yeah.
version. It definitely stayed in that funk lane, but when you're closing out a set and it's already as high energy and awesome as this, like, what more do you need?
Yeah, they're very kind to me because they must know that Tumble's my favorite set two closer because they just give it to me a lot at my shows, and I'm not going to ever complain. I thought it was a really good funky party, like you said, and I've just the only specific thing I wanted to call out is Peter finds this really cool progression that kind of reminds me of the "Please Please Your Love" from "Don't Leave Me This Way," and I really really dug how that worked.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome comparison there. Honestly, they were pulling from all different threads of funk on this one. It felt like
Yeah,
we'll, we'll wheel of fortune this thing with different flavors of funk that
yeah,
we've tried out before. um,
yeah.
and then how it ends in the encore, dude. Nice to see this one pop back up. Love this in the encore. What'd you think of it?
Yeah, second time seeing this song in an encore. I absolutely love the fit here. It's obviously got a very on the head type of meaning, but I think it works great. And I've said this ad nauseum, but it's one of the most beautiful songs in the catalog. So it's going to work for me wherever they play it.
Yeah, can't say it much better. And I can't wait to see this one get more runway too. Like it works great in the
Yes.
encore. It works great in set two, especially. But man, this one could definitely rip too.
Yeah, this could provide them with a variety of off ramps if they wanted.
All right. Well, anything else on night one? Got a lot more ground to cover, I'm realizing.
No, yeah. Let's get into night two. This was an annoying show.
So yeah, you mentioned it. Night two, show got delayed due to some weather, even though the weather apparently never really manifested in the area. So it wound up being a long one set show. They managed to make the most of it. I think it was like 2-ish hours and change of music, which is not the worst thing in the world, but you wish you got the full two sets. I guess I'll read this one off since you read off the last one,
Yeah.
but it started off with same old shenanigans, then got a Your Direction into Blood Buzz, Ohio, then Savager, Pop, Dustin Hoffman, Turn Clouds, and then the Empress of Organos into Rosewood Heart to close out the monster set, with an encore of Shamalama Ding Dong back into the Empress of Organos to close out the show. So SOS, starting off with it early once again. It is the year of SOS being in the first two slots of any show. So what'd you think about this dance party?
I mean, I think it's always fun. I don't really have any specific notes because it's been done so often this year, and I can't really tell a ton of differences between the versions, but it works very well early in a set, and I love getting a 20-minute fun jam to start off my show.
Yeah, that's basically the same thing I have down. 20-minute dance party, similar to the ones we've heard earlier in the year. I'm gonna have that note again on a song later in the set, but it's
Yeah.
not a bad thing. They're enjoying that flavor
No.
of it in 2026 and letting everyone who's going to shows get a little taste of it.
Yep. For sure.
Uh, then next up, Your Direction into Blood Buzz, Ohio. You got any specific notes on these two?
I'm not generally a fan of the yacht rock, but I do think there's a decent solo short jam on the Your Direction. And then Blood Buzz got an interestingly dark intro that feels more tied to Your Direction, but was interestingly tracked as Blood Buzz. Either way, a very popular cover in the catalog for me included, and I did think that the intro was cool, even if I believe it was more so Your Direction.
I clocked it as Your Direction in the moment, so I was surprised by the tracking
Yeah,
too. But hey, listen, what it's a cool section regardless. Like
yeah, either
I'm
way.
into it. Slick transition, cool section. So, uh, and I'm always here for a Blood Buzz Ohio, even if I don't like the national. Um,
Yeah,
Goose, you can cover all the national songs, and then I'll listen to them.
yeah, exactly. Same.
And then Savager continues to just rip. Has this song grown on you at all, man?
Savager and Pop here are the only two songs on the album I don't like. I've even kind of made peace a little bit with Torero. It's not perfect, but these are the only two that I just outright don't like. Although Savager Spell, awesome.
We'll get you there one day, man. We
Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I knew
we
these
got
were
you there with the
coming though. I picked
rise.
them in Fancy Goose. We did. We did.
Yeah, I love these two. I think they sound great. I even with the trippy ass vocal effect on pop that people are like hot and cold on. I just dig it. But anyway, I hope you had fun during the section, or at least you went to the bathroom or were productive.
I
Um,
do enjoy Rick's vocals taking more of a role in Pop. I will say that. I do think that makes the song better. And I said this at the beginning. I still really like the chorus of Pop.
yeah, yeah. The outro too is just awesome. Like
Yeah.
bomb of
Yeah.
energy.
So there's things to like.
Um, it's Goose, man. When is there not?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I was a happy camper either way.
And then Dustin Hoffman, this is what I was referencing earlier. A lot like SOS, this one has a 2026 flavor and they've been sticking to it most of the year. Thankfully, that changes when we get into the next time they play it. But every time it pops up on a set, you kind of know what flavor you're getting up to this point, and it's that chill groove, and they're loving it, and they've locked into it, and it's fun. So if you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
it's tremendous. But if you're watching every show like this, we don't have a lot of notes to describe it in new fashions.
Yeah. It's just like the Ben Thatch or the 2023 SPAC Thatch or the 2026 Dustin. But it's just kind of, it is what it is.
All right. So next up, Turned Clouds. This is the one song that I felt landed weird in this set personally. Like I love Turned Clouds, but with how the set wound up flowing, it felt like it was in a weird position here. But what you think about this turn clouds?
Well, I knew it was coming. This was the third song I got right for Fantasy Goose because of the rain. I just figured that they were going to play this, but I agree with you. Kind of a weird spot for it. I love this song. I think it's one of the more underrated songs in the catalog, and I just think it's a great energy sing along every time. So I'm never ever mad when this one pops up, even though kind of weird.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like with the way that things wound up moving around and with the condensed time, I was like, oh, I thought that this would have been more like an opener or something, but it still
Yes.
worked.
Yeah.
Um, but now we got to talk about these last two songs in the main set. This is the crown jewel of the show. You know, there was a lot of discourse that I saw where, and I kind of agree with it, is when there's these long like one set shows, it often takes Goose a while to find their groove on them, and it kind of panned out on this night too. And they did find their groove on these last two songs because holy goons on this Empress, man. What do you think about this Goons Fest?
Yeah, I also really like the first non-goons part of it because it's the beginning of this Empress, which is probably the highlight of the show for me, has a lot of funky fun, and the organ sounds like straight out of something like "Give Me Some Lovin'" by the Spencer Davis Group, and Rick has that like extreme wah-like texture that he's adding on top of the organ, and they break it down into like a simpler bass and drums transition with just droning synth from Peter, and then you kind of know that the goons is on from there, and it goes dark again, and we build into that Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie, Vampire Nightclub type of dirgy sounding goons that we all love. And so, yeah, this was just a lot of fun. But don't sleep on the early, fun, funky part. There was a lot of cool dynamic playing going on there too.
I had a lot of notes on that too, actually. That organ plus disco funk beat from Cotter was so cool, man. And like I can't remember
Yeah,
hearing anything quite like that before either. Um, and
yeah,
then that fat tone that Rick starts doing when he decides to like take over things is just it was so good,
yeah,
so good.
yeah. Awesome
Um,
Empress.
but you had kind of mentioned it, about like what kind of references you were hearing. I couldn't put a finger on it, so I kind of agree. But I also thought it sounded a little bit like Goonsy coded, put on your poodle skirt and do the twist kind of vibes in some ways.
Yeah,
Before getting into that dark electronica zone. But yeah, really love this Empress. I thought it was a great highlight. I like when they do these slick transitions into this darker Blade Vampire Club goons, and it's not just that the whole way. So
yeah,
gonna have this one on my workout playlist for sure. I think this is a fun one.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and then Rosewood Heart Closer, dude. You're just getting epic closers at this Raleigh run. Um, what'd you think about this one?
Yeah, always so blessed to get a Rosewood, and I thought this was a very cool jam on it too. Pretty jazzy early on, nice kind of swingy feel from Peter and Trevor. Rick kind of just riffing in between their swings, and then Peter adds like this decorative riff on top of the original progression that further deepens the pool we're waiting in. But right around the 12 minutes mark is when Rick finds this super catchy earworm thing that they build out, and I can't tell you how much I love this riff. It has been like pounding in my skull since this show. I will just audiate this riff while I'm in the kitchen making something. It's just so fun. And it's just like further and further evidence of how much Rick can just pick these things out of thin air that you're just like, man, that's going to stick with me for the next month or two.
Yeah, and it all started. I mean, first of all, we got to talk about how Scavenger Spell Cotter made an appearance early in this, like Jazzy Cotter. So cool.
Yeah.
But it really all started, that earworm riff that Rick locked onto really started with Peter to me with this circling lick on piano.
Yes.
That was like the foundation that he laid that down upon, that I just thought was tremendous. And they're just swirling and swirling and swirling around each other. And it's like they get flung off of the tornado, eventually going to like the outro rocking jam. But I really loved that section because they were all in just such lockstep and built around each other
Yeah.
so well early on. And then obviously peak of the century to close out the show, which is amazing.
Yeah, and that was like no shade by me at Peter at all. He has definitely been driving so much of the improv lately and doing two things at once usually to get us there. But it's just there's something about like once Rick can kind of tell like what territory they're settling in where he's just like, okay, I can come up with a hit song out of that, and he just does every time.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it was a totally different sound too. I just wanted to shout that out because it's like
Yeah.
he was like the wind that started the tornado, and like everyone started building around him. And I
Yes.
just it's so cool when you can find that like ripple effect. Um,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, and then we get an encore here of Shamalama Ding Dong back into Empress. You're getting lucky with the Shamas this year, man. In the encore, any thoughts on these two?
Just really positive vibes. It's just really fun to see everybody kind of leaving the venue with that kind of smile on their face. And especially like all the kids that were there for their first shows. I saw so many families at this show, like way more than I would expect to see at any concert. And so it was just really, really cool to see everybody dancing in the aisles and a lot of people getting their first shamas ever. Just really special ending. And how can you go out on better vibes than Shama Empress sandwich? Like, just awesome.
No, that it's unbeatable, man. It's like a lot of people's first Chase song, Shama.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I mean, the you say looks like rain today, and we didn't get any rain that day. Like, it was just really, really, really appropriate. And
I
that
got no
venue was
shortage of
so,
like
so stupid.
I was gonna say I got no shortage of like 19 messages like where the fuck is the rain?
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing was when they announced the delay, you're looking at your radar and you're like, if the weather hits us, if it's going to be here at 8 o'clock, and you're delaying till 8 o'clock, like, how much sense does this make? And then it never showed up at all. So I just feel like we all got robbed of a 2 set Goose show and we didn't need to, but whatever. It was still a really fun time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that sucks. That that just
Yeah.
sucks. I'm sorry.
It
I'm
is
not
what it
that
is.
sorry because you got Rosewood Heart, but like I am a little bit
Yeah.
sorry.
It was a good weekend. We got great songs and great jams, and it could have been more.
Well, the weekend was more, but unfortunately,
Yes.
Merriweather was not in the cards for either of us. But holy
No.
show in Merriweather, dude. Especially set
Yes.
one. Whew. Um, you want to
This
read
was
this
a
one off,
rager.
Mike?
Yeah, we can go back and forth. So this one started off with Bear, Butter Rum, Madalena, Arcadia, Jedstone, and then a stack of pancakes to end it. And then set two goes Hunger Sight, Good Times, End Times, Slow Ready, Can't Get You Out of My Head, Slow Ready, Post Place, and then an encore of Dripfield.
Holy moly. I mean, Bear opener. They did it at Gonzo. They did it at Merriweather. I loved the commitment to shaking up these first sets and these openers and
Yes.
get a tremendous compact jam on this one to start, man. Like two distinct sections they crammed into 17-ish minutes, I want to say. And what more can you ask for?
Yeah, no, like you said, second time since Gonzo, bit more runway than the Gonzo one. Uh, It's got that atmospheric drive thing going on early and terrific bass from Tweaks, who kind of holds it down whenever they tend to do that sort of jam. And, it transitions into that explosive, rising sounding rock where everyone just sounds like they're playing ascending riffs and the jam just starts soaring. And then you get a little funk party at the end, last 5 minutes or so. Hell of an appetizer for the show. Like, if you're going to start off a show like this, it's just like, can't get much better than that.
Yeah, and I shame on me for not realizing the jam potential on this when they played it at Goosemiths because this thing can go infinity directions, dude. Um,
Yeah.
That funk party at the end kind of sounds a little like conga dance party coded, and I should have seen Butter Rum fucking coming from that because it was so
Yeah.
obvious in retrospect. But I was digging it in the moment, like, holy crap, what's
Yeah.
happening here? And then we get that seamless transition into Butter Rum, and the momentum just continues off of this tremendous bear. This one wound up being a more straightforward disco, slightly goons vibe to it, but again, Butter
Yeah.
Rum has just been on a roll with these jams lately, even if the song has mixed reviews.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the rager from the other night, but it keeps the energy up. And I thought that the extremely busy drums and the outrageous freedom that Rick is channeling in his playing were two highlights of this early on. So, yeah, it doesn't have to be crazy breaking the mold every time. It's still just a really fun, energetic jam. And I love the way Rick navigates these high speed freeway burnouts.
Yeah, and the energy seemed to take a cool down after this. They're trying to burn the motherfucker down. There's a lot of wood there. at Merriweather.
Yeah.
Um, and they cool it down for a minute with Madalena, but then they ramp it back up again with more punchy rock outro. Like apparently Madalena is here to stay.
Yeah, it's crazy because this starts and you're like, okay, getting some balance to the set. Really like this song placement, works really well, and then it's just peak after peak after peak, and you're just like, damn, like where are the brakes? Have we misplaced them? Is this a runaway car situation? What is happening? So yeah, this is Merriweather is on fire.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like 3 10+ minute songs in a row. Like nothing like cool down about it outside of the
No.
Madalena portion of the Madalena song. Um,
Yeah.
and then Arcadia kicks up, and you're like mid set, first set Arcadia. What is happening here? What drugs were taken right in the set list that made it so epic? Um, and it wound up being the longest recorded Arcadia we know of to date, and probably my favorite version they've played in the Cotter era. Um, this was just a vibe, especially like that early groove that they locked into. It was relaxed yet driving, and Cotter was the one really keeping the pace going, but also hanging back in such a beautiful way to keep those chill vibes going. Even had a little bit of a jazzy undertone to it. And then about 10 or 11 ish minutes in, the band goes full yem, like they're channeling Fish vibes. Many people were discussing this online, so that's kind of where I'm pulling that from. But it gets really quiet, and Cotter's doing like the Fishman quick diddles on the hi hat, and I mean I'm hearing myself say diddles now, and that's just a ridiculous word. We need to reevaluate that word, drummers, after the Epstein files have been released. But anyway, after spending a little time in that quiet groove, the band kind of slides right into that ethereal oasis of bliss that they kind of love and are so good at. And this is a patient build the rest of the way from here. All the way to the finish line, they're just letting Rick's emotion flow through the guitar and slowly crescendo until we get to like the biggest peak you ever thought you heard, and it just keeps escalating from there. I don't know how Rick does it, pulling melody out of his ass out of thin air, but he just keeps going on this Arcadia, and it works, man.
Definitely, and I'm always here for it. It can be like sometimes repetitive, but I just never am going to get sick of these sparse, airy that they just gradually let build bliss type jams. They're just always going to be so great. And I feel like as much as we've talked about Peter and Trevor and Cotter, because they rightfully have shown so much this tour, and it feels like we've spoken about them a ton because we want to highlight how much they're so much more involved in the jams and leading the improv, and well deserved. But I feel like this jam is like kind of the epitome of why most of us are here in the first place. Like Rick is that good at guitar, and this solo is as gorgeous as music can be. So just really want to shout out like Rick's solo here is, you know, as good as music can be for me.
It's channeling those, like, it doesn't sound like Mission, but it's channeling like that same kind of energy where it's like he's just in Zen mode. And
Philly
yeah, you
Tumble.
mentioned, yeah, yeah, Philly Tumble. Like there's just those times where it's just something so special comes out, and Rick has just found the perfect melody to accompany the emotion of the tune. And it's a standout version, even though they land on a sound very often. It's standout in that way. I love it.
Yeah, well said. He finds that melody and then I find God.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, Speaking of Jed Stone, getting more emotion,
Yeah.
man. This is
Yeah.
finally the cool down we thought we were going to get.
Yes.
And this one is a more relaxed version. It still builds as Jedstone does, but finally starts to cool down before another tremendous pancakes, even though it's short here to close out the set. Any notes on these two?
Well, I just want to say, like, thank God they threw the Jetstone in there because, I mean, maybe we should have mentioned this, but it's been really hot this last part of the Leg of Summer tour. And there's a lot of, you need to hydrate, like, please be on water. I don't know that Merriweather could have handled another crazy upbeat song here. So, really well
Oh
done
man.
putting the Jetstone in there. Don't need anyone fainting in the pit. But I thought Pancakes was a really good call. It opts for the smaller stack to close set one purely due to time constraints. So they just go full on funky dance party. But I just want to shout out that I do love the aggressive and choppy approach from the rhythm section with Cotter and Trevor. And then there's a wonderful bit of interplay between Rick's soloing and Peter's progression. So this was a fiery set.
Yeah, and this is just adding one last like bit of lighter fluid to the absolute flamethrower they put on Merriweather.
Yeah.
Relentless pace on this. They were like trying to squeeze in 26 minutes of jam into this
Yeah.
13-minute pancakes. It felt like,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, full speed funk, a little bit of twisted darkness, but all in all,
Yeah.
tremendous way to close the set.
Yeah. Lots of fun.
And then set two opens up with a big hunger sight, and I love hunger sight to open up a set two. This one, I don't remember which version we were talking about it, but it reminded me a lot of a hunger sight we talked about earlier in the year, where it goes full classic rock like Led Zeppelin at the end of it, and they're just channeling that part of Cotter. All the time he's done playing Led Zeppelin covers. I feel like they're just channeling that on Hunger Sight lately. But what you think about this one, man?
Yeah, it wasn't quite the scorched earth that I've grown used to when they play it here, but I thought there was really cool independent playing, but also playing together early on. Lots of strange and fun different directions from the three of them, the melody makers, anyways. But when Peter finds the stable progression around the 10-minute mark for them to build off, we're kind of off from there. And I feel like once Peter brings in the clav around the 14-minute mark is when we change over to a more choppy and funky section that has a bit of fun, unhinged chaos to it. And I thought that was kind of the highlight of this hunger site is when he finds that cloud. That's kind of when the magic starts.
Yeah, and that's when that like signature, like herky jerky, controlled stumbling feel starts, and then yeah, they build from there, and then it's classic rock outro at the end of this thing. So, um, Hunger Sight is in an interesting spot this year.
Definitely a good call.
And then next up is Good Times, End Times. I was surprised that this is the second time played, and they already have taken post place off of the end of it and moved it around the set to keep things interesting. They went out of Nocturne right into this slow ready sandwich right afterwards, and I was just surprised. Second time played.
Yeah, I think either way, this suite is just incredible in a live setting. And my only note was I absolutely have to hear this at a show again and hopefully soon.
Yeah. Oh, it's tremendous, and I think it works amazing in the second set. Like I just think it's perfect
Yeah.
for it, despite like the fact that it's an orchestrated section and people often like more improvisational jams. Like I just think it sounds so good in a second set like this. Um, but they post place is really where the improv comes, and I like that they moved that to the very end of the set. But we'll get to that later. Um, how about this slow ready sandwich, man? Like we got slow ready into Kylie back into slow ready. There's the peanut butter and jellies of the world, Jordan and Pippin, got mac and
Yeah.
cheese, like, and now we got slow ready and Kylie.
Yeah. I don't have anything specific on it, but I thought it was very smooth transitions, and I thought the goons was awesome. And I think that yeah, peanut butter and jelly is a good way to put it. They work really well together. Spaghetti and meatballs, lamb and tuna
Yep.
fish.
What?
It's from Big Daddy.
Oh, I have not watched that since the 90s. Anyway.
Me neither.
Yeah, fun sandwich. I don't have a ton of notes on it either, but got to get your dose of the goons, and they did
Yeah,
it in a tremendous fashion here.
yeah.
And then
Love seeing
we
Kylie
talked
pop
about,
up.
oh yeah, and they're loving Kylie. Clearly, it's like 4 times
Yeah,
in 3 months. They're riding
the
with it.
Goons has revitalized that cover.
Hmm. Yeah, let's keep going with it. I love some Kylie.
Sure. Yep.
And then Post Place closes out the set, and oh my goodness, this is the set closer I never knew I needed in my life. I love the way they've been able to find interesting improv with it. Um, it's a cool down, but it can also escalate in so many different directions. I just hope that this song continues to be played in interesting ways like this and doesn't get lost in the shuffle as the catalog grows, because I think it's just tremendous.
Yeah, same. I mean, if we could, I mean, we did hasty rankings, so I guess they're like technically out of date. But if we were to update our rankings, this would easily be my favorite song off the album at this point. It's a
Yeah.
transcendent experience. Um, but yeah, to your point, like I love seeing the improv on it, and I feel like this won't be the end of that story when it comes to improv either. Because if there's one thing about Goose and jam bands in general, a lot of times the improv is going to get based around the two chord progressions, and this song uses CNF. So I feel like it's just tailor made to have a variety of off ramps available to them. So it is a cool down song. It is an emotional song, but it can kind of do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you saw them like wanting to stay in that chill zone and like inevitably finding their way to like more energy and then bringing it down a little bit and then like kind of
Yeah.
riding that wave. But I am interested to see where it goes. They could really slot this in a lot of different ways. But I love it as a closer.
Yeah, in a completely different way, I look at it like media. Like it can be long, it can be short, it can be, opener, whatever you want to do with it. Like closer, you can put post plays anywhere, just depending on how you use it. Like and whatever they pair with it, improv wise or no improv at all, is going to determine how they use it.
Let's just get a Post Place and Sugar Mountain combination somewhere, like in an encore sometime. Like let's get after
Yeah, I love balling in public.
it. Fetal position in the middle of the venue.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, all right.
start bringing my
Uh,
therapist to shows with me. Gosh, Alex.
well, if you want to get out of that zone, you can't beat Drip Field Encore here to get you on a completely different dynamic plane of music here. This was a short
Yeah.
version, but it's Drip Field. It rips. Any thoughts on this encore?
No, I just love that they're doing different stuff with Dripfield. I got so used to that industrial sound being the kind of default off ramp. I mean, there's so many great versions that came out of that. Like even the Greek version started that way. But I love that we're getting more piano driven stuff from Peter. And the last few times Rick is elected for like a swampy kind of electronic sounding tone. But overall, just some good solid rock to end the night on. And yeah, just a fan of Dripfield and a fan of them doing new stuff with it.
Yeah, and you can't beat the highest of highs of that Drip Field outro. It's like raging. It's a wall
Yeah.
of sound. It's positive. It's upbeat. Like
Yeah.
let's get it.
Yeah.
All right, so that wraps up that first weekend of this run we're discussing. Any other thoughts on Merriweather before we move to Boston?
Now let's ship off to Boston.
All right, so two-night run in Boston, June 30th, 2026, night one at Leader Bank Pavilion. Opens with Animal, then get a Feel It Now, Dr. Darkness, Into Drive, into Torero, then get an Earthling or Alien, and Everything Must Go to close out set one. And then set two opens with Arrow, into Bob Don, then get an Into the Mist, into Running Up That Hill, and Madhuvan to close the set with a Silver Rising encore. All right, where do we start? This Animal, once again, hitting the ground running with some energy at a show. Love Animal early, especially. I think that's its best spot for me. But any thoughts on this opener?
Yeah, solid burst of energy goes directly adjacent to the Delta Jam from Indian River for me. Nice, smooth, and groovy funk, super solid bass lines, and squiggly runs from Rick, as I'm calling them. And I thought this was just a really good, solid burst of energy to start off, and nice peak, and they get out.
I heard the Welcome to Delta vibes on it too. I think that's a good fit for the song.
Yeah,
Animal has been going some interesting directions, and we'll get more into that later with SPAC too. But great opener call, honestly. I'm surprised that
yeah.
they played it here when they were going to play it a few days later, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of rhyme or reason to bringing songs back or show gaps. There's been some puzzling, like, oh, only 2 shows, only 3 shows, but there's so much variety with their set listing right now. Like, I'm never ever going to complain about it because
Yeah,
these sets are insane.
yeah, and I feel like they're keeping it tight because it's like they want to highlight the album songs too. We'll see where
Yeah,
it goes from here, but Feel It Now. Speaking of show gaps, 27 shows between Feel It Now. It's like what? The song rips,
yeah,
dude. And they kept the energy going from Animal. I didn't have many thoughts on it, but love hearing Feel It Now.
yeah. It's only had 2 plays in April, right? And then this was the first time back since then. So
Oh my
I think it
gosh.
was the Moody Center and Fort Lauderdale were the only other 2 times it was played. So yeah, play Feel It Now more because this is a really great song. And that's really all I have to say about it.
Yeah. 27 shows is nuts. That is like
Wild.
Indian River territory, dude, and we need more plays on that. Come on now.
Both of
Um,
them. Yeah, for sure.
and then another song I don't have a ton of notes on, Doctor Darkness. It was a little cool down after all that energy. Um, like the slotting here, not being an opener, but still in the first set. Um, I think it's kind of the best of both worlds there. And then it goes right into Drive, interestingly enough. And this is kind of the start of the run of the set where there's a lot of compact jamming here where nothing particularly becomes like the central jam or takes off until the finale of set one. But um, a lot of slick transition work going on. Nice two guitar goose here, and kind of rips right into Torero. But any thoughts on this drive?
I didn't have anything specific. No,
All right.
I love Drive.
And then drive's great. It always rips.
Yeah,
Two guitar goose, man.
yeah, for
And
sure.
then Torero, again, this was a compact version of Torero, even though they do a little bit of that exploring the darkness between the Torero song and Faina. The outro of that gets moody once again, but I didn't have a ton of notes on this either. Just kind of continued exploring that tangent.
The only specifics I had is I'll echo you. It is a nice dark ramp up, but in that ramp up, I love the contrast in sounds that you get between Peter's dizzying and busy dark keys and Rick's like scratchy wails on guitar. That leads to a lot of nice building of tension before getting to the faint part at the end. And so it's interesting to see how Torero is going to continue to evolve over the next 12 months or so because there's a lot of interesting things going on there, even if it's not necessarily a long jam.
I actually had that as one bullet point was like, love how moody they've been getting with this section. I'm reading it word for word. And you just know one day it's going to go off on some legendary tangent. Um,
Yeah.
so we'll see. I am interested for sure. The mind meld here continues between you and I. Um, but next up was Ear A, and it hurt my soul a little bit to see the funk party being shorter than we normally get because everyone needs their funk, man. But you still got it with the
Yeah.
Ear A, and it's still a really solid version. Um, a lot of great spacious textures they leaned into on this short jam, and it even gets a little dark coded. You kind of feel a little bit of tension there, and I mean Peter's just tremendous once again on ERA. Shocker. But any thoughts on this ERA?
You might be surprised. I think that this is actually a very big highlight for me because it's so original. It's not long, but it's very, very original. And I thought that the delayed, echoing, atmospheric clav from Peter was a unique touch. That was one of the things that jumped out at me. The melodic, but also thumping bass from Trevor that dominates early is another highlight. And then Rick just kind of supplying like light, delicate splashes of rhythm, which is not kind of a move that he normally makes in this one. And I just thought that they all really had a lot of patience in letting this one slowly boil instead of getting right to it like they might in other scenarios. And they get to this really cool sound near the end where it's not like a peak. It's like they are somewhere in a dark, abstract, descending, progressive rock type area. And I just thought that was just really original. And it's not what you would expect out of a ERA. So, not the longest jam, but very, very different than anything I've heard this year.
No, it was really really cool ground they covered. I need my funk with ERA, man. I just feel like
Yeah.
I didn't get the dance party with it,
They're being
even though I was watching
unpredictable,
from home.
man. That's their MO right now is unpredictable.
But it's funny you mentioned like the rhythm guitar of Rick. I found that to be a big interesting point on this, or like punctuation point on this jam too, because he was definitely hanging back and playing support, and it worked out. It paid off some big dividends. Um,
Yeah.
but how about this EMG? I know you want to talk about this because again, another
Yes.
short EMG, another tremendous EMG.
Yeah, and so far the MO for this one has been, short but powerful, getting right after it, dark improv, and, in and out in like 13 minutes. But happy to see them take a completely different direction and also go a little bit longer than it's been in recent memory. Also, not nearly as discordant as they've been doing recently. It pivots into some choppy, funky, and jazzy motifs mixed together. and the dizzying and dense piano riffs from Peter up against the funky big bass lines from Trevor and more squirrely lines from Rick lead to a ton of interesting ideas and interplay bouncing around the stage in all kinds of different directions. And eventually they pick up the pace and move into more direct train flying down the track style of groovy funk. But that early section is just really interesting, getting to listen to them all throw stuff at the board and see what's going to stick.
Yeah, they were kind of like all speaking different languages and kind of still landed
Yes.
on the same kind of vibe by the end of it. Um, but yeah, I was very surprised by like more like brighter, pleasant feel compared to the darkness we tend to get
Yeah.
at EMG. So,
Yeah.
and then obviously the outro is just like let's bust through a wall Kool Aid Man style. But they've been covering a lot of ground on these short jams. Honestly, like
Yeah.
these could be Jam of the Year contenders if they added 6 more minutes onto them, I feel like, because they've all been tremendous in covering a lot of ground.
Yeah, and this might be kind of a deep reference, but every time they do this with both like the EMG and the ear A, which I thought were both like completely big left turns, like it always like the quote from my favorite movie Zodiac plays in my mind where they're just like they're changing the formula. Like because it's been happening so often lately.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know Zodiac was your favorite movie, dude.
Oh yeah.
It's a great call. Great movie.
Thanks, man.
Not a great killer, but great movie.
No, no. Hate the person. Love the movie.
All right. Let's get into set two here. We got a lot of ground to
Yeah.
cover. We could talk movies all day. Arrow opener, man. Another big performance on a short section of jam on this Arrow because you get the 12 minutes of song, and this is about a 19-minute runtime, if I have it right.
Yeah.
Or 22 minutes. Sorry, I had it marked down as 19 in my notes. Not sure why I did, but anyway, yeah, this one gets a little atmospheric. It starts off a little bit slower, and they really lean into it doesn't start off a little slower. It just has that section that winds up going into Bob
Mhm.
Don. But I wish they could have lingered in that space a lot longer. But if you're gonna do a slick transition into a great song like Bob Don, I like that they explored territory like that at all.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this Arrow is kind of a mixed bag. On the one hand, I feel like Peter's just again the MVP of recent shows, doing just a bit of everything, and all of his lines have been just so impressive, especially when he's stacking different lines on top of each other and different sounds. It feels like they attempt a lot of different lines early on, but when they finally get the tempo up, is when I feel like everything starts to click into place, and then Rick's able to start, doing some bigger soloing and whatnot. This jam has a lot of great peaks. I don't know if it's like playlist worthy, and it's definitely not as good as the MSG Arrow, but it's a fun time.
Fun's the word I'd use to describe that early section, especially. And then it's like they pivot into that more chill zone, and it's like, oh, cool, we're gonna like explore this, and it just winds up being more of a transition. But I'm here for that again,
Yeah,
because it's Bob Don, dude, and Bob Don fucking
and we
rips.
love Bob Don. Yeah,
Yeah,
always welcome to the party.
what a ride, man! Always welcome.
Yeah.
Get a Bob Don with, forget about it. I don't got a lot of notes on it other than I love Bob Don. We posted a clip of it. Rick's voice sounded immaculate, even more compared to normal on
Mhm.
Bob Don. So we wanted to shout that out. But any thoughts on the Don?
No, like I said, always welcome to any show that I'm at, any show, period. It's just great to hear it.
All right. Because now we got to get into what is going to be a lot of people's centerpiece of this show, this Into the Mist, Into the Goons. What'd you think about this one?
I think it's certainly going to be one of the more talked about jams of the year, maybe even one of the more divisive jams of the year. I think this is going to be one that has a lot of champions and a lot of critics, but I think it's a really great one. And I love the ridiculously outstanding bass lines from Trevor on this. I love the eerie tension from Peter on synth and the swampy electronic dirgy signature sound that Rick has been going to so often whenever they tap into the goons is just like he's got it so crispy and so perfect at this point. And, we get some delicious dark goose. Not as in your face as a lot of Goons jams have been, but I think that's a big part of why this does something different than those past jams. I think the space that they give it allows for more dramatic shifts in the sound. And I think this is perfectly exemplified around the 17-minute mark when we get into a breakdown with just what seems like an endless drum roll that's never going to stop. And it just builds up to this one of the biggest drops in Goose history. I'm just going to say it. It's one of the biggest drops I've ever heard. And then the
Huge.
last 4 minutes, we are totally back in the Rob Zombie land. But everything that leads up to that last 4 minutes, you're like, okay, again, changing the formula. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, and even more so than normal, especially like during those tension sections you were talking about, they like managed to like keep things tense while keeping a groove to it. Weirdly enough, like
Yeah.
it like you don't always get that, and it was very
This is a
very
Cotter
very
jam.
good mist. It's definitely Cotter all the way. He impressed me so much on this one, and I got to listen back more. I have a lot of strong feelings on this that are mostly positive, and I feel like I'm overhyping it, much like the mist from last year in Philly. And I don't want to be that guy, but I found this to be tremendous.
Hey, I overhyped that miss too. So, I mean, we're suckers for good miss.
And we're suckers for Kate Bush, man, running up that hill.
Yes.
First time back since the fall tour last year. Didn't feel like it's been that long, but nice that it's back in the rotation.
Yeah, and I think it fits the mood perfectly after where they went in that last jam. So A plus set listing. I can't remember offhand what was on the paper set list, but uh, it was good. A good call keeping this one where it was.
I believe it was sequenced like this, but I think they shuffled
Okay.
something around from I don't remember
Yeah.
actually. We're covering too many shows.
Yeah. A lot. We've been busy.
But, we closed out the main set with Madhuvan, and it's now illegal for me to talk about a Madhuvan first after I said that I want more songs to get longer jams like Madhuvan always seems to get because they've all been amazing since I said that.
Yeah.
Uh, so, how about you let me know what you think about this Madhuvan?
Well, just like the EMG goes against recent versions, love how many different ways they're changing the formula because it goes for an ethereal and peaceful slow bliss with some great back and forth between Rick and Peter, which was nice to see because I mean, that's kind of like, default goose jamming is Rick and Peter going back and forth. But so much of the improv lately has not been focused on that dynamic, which has been great. But good to get back home where we are here. And they keep going back and forth between light and dark themes, and eventually this goes off into a faster pace. And they have some nice sustained set peaks with max intensity from Rick. And when they get into the tension peaks before heading into Madhavan, it just kind of all comes collapsing perfectly. So I think it's not as challenging as a lot of recent Madhavans, but it's a lot of fun and just how different it sounded with the overall positive, blissy, blasting off to outer space style jam.
My notes are really not that different, so I won't add too much, but I will agree that um, the uplifting kind of vibes to it early was a nice change of pace than like the general lost in space or like churning dark that always seems to ramp into an amazing jam. Don't get me wrong, but I like the variety
Yeah.
here for sure, even if it's not the best version of mod in the world.
Yeah, and I feel like back in the day, Modavans used to be way more prone to doing this type of thing. Back when they had less jam vehicles or reliable jam vehicles in the catalog, Modavan by necessity had to do a lot of different things. So, kind of a throwback in that regard.
Yeah. Speaking of listening back to that 2022 Red Hat version, or is it 22, right? Oh my
Yeah,
God. It's so
yeah,
sick, dude. All
one of
right.
the best.
Anyway, we can reminisce all day on that too. We got a lot of shows to cover. Shut up, Alex. We got Silver Rising in the encore. Not sure how I feel about Silver Rising encores, but I like that they're experimenting with the slotting. So, and it does ramp up in a nice way to where you get a big energy burst at the end. So it does make sense here, but I just am such a sucker for it in the first set, man.
Yeah, I almost some of these songs though, like Silver Rising, I'm almost a fan of like if you're not gonna like open with it or first two songs, like or even some of the shows where they do like a 3 pack of openers, like I'm kind of okay with it in that spot. But if you're not going to put it in the first three songs, this is almost the perfect place for it because you've only got 10 minutes left before they kick you off the stage. So, it's probably got to be up there for like one of the most popular "This is my favorite song" picks by people. So I can't really argue with sending the crowd out on a vibe like that, especially when
No.
you're only getting 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really, really good point. There was a while there where they'd put stuff like Turbulence in the encore more and stuff like that. So, I think it's a nice change of pace from like the expected at least. Um, and it's not
Yeah,
bingo, so
misdirection. Yeah, like things like that. I feel like, Mr. Action, Silver Rising, Turbulence, a lot of these songs work so good in the encore. And then, you don't have to put like a drip field there. It can get jammed out, and be placed like in the second set or something. So it works for me.
Life on the Shelf, all your favorites. What
Yeah.
else? Not Alone. No, I'm kidding.
Oh God.
All right. So that's night one in Boston. Let's get into this night two here on July 1st. Oh my gosh, it's July. How about you read this one off for me, buddy?
Yeah, so starts off with Iguana Song and Royal. It burns within, Wisteria Lane, Electric Avenue, Draconian Meter Maid, Flow Down closes it down. And then set two, we get a big modern Creatures, Jive 2, Jive Lee. And then in the encore, crazy Doobie Song and Give It Time.
That's
Wow.
a tremendous second set, man. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Like I wrote all these notes on it, but then reading that off, those songs are just amazing. Um,
Yeah.
anyway, Iguana Song, dude. I thought this was one of like the more fleshed out overall performances of Iguana Song we've gotten so far. I thought um, it was interesting, but again, it hasn't taken off in the way that we thought it might, like go into like an absolute ripper. But I do love it as an opener like this. Um,
Yeah.
if you're not going to get a long ripping 20-minute jam like we thought when we first heard the studio cut, it works great as an opener, man.
Yeah, and I think that the big player here is Trevor just dominates early on with just really cool series of lines that they kind of base the early part of the jam off of. And then as you go, you get more complimentary playing from Peter and Rick, where they're just kind of doing these exploring runs that bounce off each other and Trevor's lines. But yeah, it's a fun start, and I'll take a little bit of improv to start off the show.
Yeah, yeah, they're like weaving a tapestry here early of all their melodic ideas. Like I found it to be really, really fun. Um, and then Cotter is just relentless as he has been all
Yeah.
year, but he is a force, man. Um, and then Royal up next. This one got extended like it has been the last few plays. Um, this one kind of sticks to its main general vibe, but it does it well.
Yeah, the only two things I wanted to call out here was that it's a great patient build into like a perfect rock progression. Like if you were going to design one in a lab, you would find this probably. But the other thing is just again Peter with that exceptionally crunchy atmospheric clav. It's he's using the clav in different ways in similarly to how the early part of spring was a lot of like, oh, I haven't heard marimba used that way. Hearing a lot of new stuff from the clav, and I'm just really happy about it.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely was one of those things that piques your ear, especially the first time I heard it live. In the moment, I was like, "Ooh, that's some nice clav, man."
Yeah.
Um, he also did some cool stuff on the synth with this, like, but again, it kind of
Yeah.
was like complementing that central main hook of Royal in a lot of great ways that they kind of leaned into. Um, and then they leaned into "It Burns Within," second play this year after taking all of last year off. Um, a little bit of a cool down after a hot start, but let's play "It Burns Within" more, man.
I mean, it's easily one of the best songs that Rick has ever written. I'm super biased in that regard, but I would never ever get tired of it. It's one of the songs I most often play on my own guitar, and it's only been played 12 times by Goose Period. So it's got to get played more. Just that's all I can say about it. They should play it more.
It's encouraging that it's gotten played twice already. Like that's a solid pace
Yeah.
since it debuted in New Orleans this year. I'm here
Yep.
for it. And then we
Yeah.
kind of get the centerpiece of set one here, to me at least. This Wisteria Lane into Electric Avenue. Um, Peter locks into the marimba sound quite a bit on this jam. Speaking of, and it's really, really atmospheric vibes to it. And Electric Avenue kind of just continues the vibes of the Wisteria Jam in a lot of ways after getting the song. But any thoughts on this great improv run here?
Yeah, I agree. Airy textures on keys with like searching marimba over top of it. And Peter, again, just doing a bit of everything here as he's been doing all of 2026. And I think Rick's choice of using that fuzzy, crunchy, almost clav sounding tone works really well with what they're doing. And especially as we transition from the early airy theme to an ascending sounding bridge style peak that eventually kind of washes perfectly into Electric Avenue. Really solid stuff.
Yeah, really solid, and like the patience of this, even though they kind of broke it up with Electric Avenue and then just kind of
Yeah.
continued ramping off of the same
Yeah.
vibes. It was a nice payoff by the end of Electric Avenue because it felt like a huge emotional payoff by the end with that peak they hit. Um, so tremendous run.
Yeah, and I think to call that out as well, I did want to say that Electric Avenue does kind of revisit some of the Wisteria themes, but it does so in a more positive and uplifting and even thunderous style. So it was good development throughout that sandwich.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Um, and then Draconian Meter Maid and Flow Down close out the set. Uh, Not my favorite Draconian Meter Maid of the year, especially not when it goes right into a flozer. I get to say flozer again for the first time in like a year. Um,
I should
but
have braced myself
this
for
one,
that.
this one started off moving quick, and Peter and Trevor especially were just like locked the fuck in with each other. Um, the stuff that Peter was doing on the keyboard especially really impressed me on this one, and then it just kind of um, became the most obvious transition into flow down ever by the end of this thing. But it's a flozer, and I get to say that word, and that's about all I have to say about that.
I'm here for it. But believe it or not, I actually do have a few things to say about this Draconian. I'm sad that you didn't like it because I thought that Peter again just did a lot of crazy stuff on this. I mean, it was, sick funk early section, but huge clav party. But while that's going on, Peter's just throwing in all these other goodies left and right, including some sustained organ. And Rick is like tossing all kinds of different ideas in frequently and often in quick succession. And I just felt like there was a ton of like playful interplay between all of them. And the entire time, Trevor's keeping up with dense lines of his own that give kind of a bouncy floating quality to this funky affair. And the peak at the end, Cotter is just constantly bouncing around the kit, adding even more buoyancy to what is a very fiery finish here. I thought this Draconian it slapped.
It was solid. Don't get me wrong. It didn't like break the mold in the way a lot of the other ones we've heard so
Okay,
far
that's
this year
fair.
have for me. It kind of stayed pretty straightforward to some of the other vibes we've heard in the past, but I did think that the chemistry between especially Trevor and Peter really stood out on this one compared to
Yeah,
normal.
I can accept that. And then the flow down, I think, is one of the most memorable intros in recent memory.
Hmm.
The intro is what makes a flow down, and I know when we did our shenanigans recap, we had quite a few honorable mentions for flow down intros that we both had like dove into, and I know like Legend Valley, for instance, is certainly up there for the best ever. But this was so different compared to recent years that I feel like this has got to be up there as well.
Yeah, and I guess it was tracked in that way where like what I'm considering the outro of the Draconian Jam when I wrote my notes live and listening back was actually what was considered the flow down intro. So maybe not the most
That's probably
obvious
fair.
transition in the world.
That's probably fair
Um,
too.
but yeah, that's set one. And we open up set two with just like the smallest song in the catalog, Big Modern, going into a Creatures. But we'll get into that after this. Any thoughts on this Big Modern, man?
I'll just echo what I said earlier. I think this is on the short list for best songs of the year. I think that there's a really awesome bit of contemplative sounding piano from Peter early that he builds into this more up tempo progression. And Trevor and Cotter just kind of keep this thing moving forward and floating. Trevor, in particular, keeps taking these melodic runs and causing them to feel like the ground is shifting laterally out from under you, while Rick goes another direction and takes a grungy, distorted solo and Peter starts hammering that piano harder and harder. But instead of peaking, Peter takes on this like more frantic approach to the progression, and the jam kind of takes on this like off kilter circus vibe before he starts to actually go overtly discordant in his runs. And Rick and Trevor are just like, okay, we've got you. They latch on, and this jam exists almost the entirety of the rest of it in what I would not call like a dark jam necessarily, but a jam that makes you uncomfortable, makes you question things. It feels uncertain and unstable. And I feel like this is a very original sounding jam and an original sounding big modern. Would have
Hmm.
worked well perhaps to finish this as it felt like we might be heading that way anyways. I was like, oh, we're gonna finish because that's where the jam was leading them. But instead, they dropped into some soft goons for the transition. So, um,
Mhm.
but really good jamming either way.
That end section is tremendous and unlike anything I can remember hearing on a big modern,
Yeah,
especially. But um, it was definitely uneasy. It had hints of like psychedelia to me. Um, but yeah, I thought it would have been well served to finish it and then do a hard stop and go into creatures. But also, you can't fault the transition band doing a great transition like they've been
yeah,
doing. Um, And you shouted it out at the beginning. Peter's stuff on the piano was tremendous. Rick was so blown away. I felt like he hung back in a lot of ways, and Trevor
yeah,
was filling in the gaps there, like doing these awesome runs. So I really liked. I like that Rick has been doing more of that and like hanging back and letting the other guys shine, and that was a big highlight for me early on. But that end section is something else, man. Uneasy,
yeah.
trippy, uh, slightly dark. That it is definitely unique.
Yeah, I'd love to ask them how they're feeling about it because from the outside looking in, it just feels like everyone is so comfortable at this point that, like, I have to imagine that if we asked them directly, they would say, like, yeah, no, we've never felt more comfortable and trusting in each other right now. Like, because it just seems like that's the vibe. Like, Rick doesn't really worry if he takes a couple plays off that they're gonna, not find something interesting. Like they obviously are every time now.
I don't know, dude. The fucking internet trolls that comment on all our posts keep posting about how Rick should ditch this band and find his own band that he can really shine in, as if this isn't his fucking band. Like, anyway, I've gotten like
Well, that's an
6
L
comments
take.
on our posts lately about this, so it's just on the mind. Um, how
Oh
about this
man, L
creatures
takes.
though?
Very bad takes from those people. But anyways, yeah, beautiful transition. I love the gorgeous bliss on this one. There's been so much good bliss from Goose the last couple weeks. I'm really into all of the bliss that they've been playing lately, and it just all of them sound sparkling, heavenly sounding, and you've got the gentle but beautiful piano from Peter, and just the sparkling tone from Rick. And when they pick up the pace, this kind of eschews the goons altogether and just goes for an absolutely gorgeous bliss jam, which I was expecting them to go goons, but they just keep subverting my expectations, and I love that.
If we hadn't already gotten such a tremendous version of this, I believe it was in Toronto, to start the
Yes.
tour, like, this would be like everyone's like one of their biggest highlights of the week. I feel like gets a little
Yep.
overshadowed by that, but yeah, tremendous bliss on this, and a really really patient build on this one. Like, I feel like that after shitting on that word during our hot takes episode, it's like the best word to describe so many of these bliss jams lately. And
Yeah.
again, the payoff is huge. It rewards that restraint that they kind of lean into this jam with early because it's such a huge emotional payoff by the end. That yeah, tremendous bliss. They don't. No one's doing it better right now than Goose.
No, and for whatever reason, like a lot of the bliss last year just wasn't resonating with me. Outside of the All I Need from Westville, and there were a couple other shorter ones that were like 13, 14-minute jams that I became a fan of. A lot of the bliss wasn't resonating for me. And then this year it feels like, well, every bliss jam is like the best bliss jam. So that's been great.
Yeah, they're just on a roll with it, and they've really locked into
Yeah.
that. So many different flavors of that sound, or that
Yes.
vibe, I should say. It's not really a sound, but yeah, awesome creatures. It, that's
Yep.
another song having a great year, honestly. Whether it's Goons or
Yeah.
Blints or Bliss or Blintz, Bliss, whatever you called it.
Blintz is, yeah, I don't know. It's a stupid word, but it was all I had in the moment.
Hey, no, I like it. That's growing on me.
Clearly.
And then we close out the set with Jive 2 into Jive Lee. Best Jive into Jive Jam. I I think this is perfection in terms of a way to close out a set too. Any thoughts on this run?
I mean, Jive 2, never expect it, but always appreciate it. Jive Lee goes big every single time. And this is just kind of the Cotter Express style jam where we just see how fast we can go. Ridiculous to hear the mix of things Rick is throwing in there. I have no idea how he operates at the pace he does and how fast his brain thinks of these ideas. But not to mention the insanely tidy and tight lines from Peter on keys and Trevor on bass. Just crazy unhinged breakdown about halfway. And the shrill and high pitched mutes from Rick before blowing the whole building down. Just what a way to end a set.
Yeah, it's a barn burner, dude. Like it's like throwing it back to 2023. Let's peak on peak on peak. Finish this thing
Yeah.
out on the highest of energy. Tremendous and so much for patience. You already got that with creatures. Fuck that shit. Let's just
Yeah.
peak all over the place.
Yeah. This show really did give you a bit of everything, and, I think I maybe underrated it a little.
Yeah, honestly, going back and talking through it, it's like, man, this actually was a really solid show. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, we love every Goose show because we're those guys. But anyway,
True. Yep.
the encore here, get 2 songs on it, get Doobie's song making a return. It was gone for about a year. Got dedicated to the band's crew. There's an amazing shot of Coach smoking a doobie during Doobie song, all on the camera. And then Give It Time, close out the show. Nice sing along. I'm surprised they played Doobie song here in Boston because they just played it there on their last run, but I mean, that's not a bad thing. It's just a song that doesn't pop up a lot. So it's just like, oh, they're
Yeah.
getting spoiled here.
Yeah, Doobie's song is like it feels like one of those songs where, like, they almost forget about it for a little bit, and then one day goes, "Hey, we haven't played Doobie's song in a while," and then Rick's like, "Yeah, put it on the set list." So, I don't know if that's how it works, but that's how it feels like from afar.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's exactly it, man. All right. Well, I don't want to talk about this next show. July 2nd, 2026 at Holmdel, aka my stepdaughter Chloe's birthday. Number one goose hater, Chloe Rose. Love you, happy birthday. But we missed the show because it was your birthday. Um, anyway, we had a great time. But this was a
Yeah,
great show too. And it opened
it
up
was.
set one with a Rockdale, then get a Hot Love and the Lazy Poet, into Atlas Dogs, into a Western Sun, back into Madalena with a Wake Up, first time busted out in a long time, and then a Pancakes, back into Hot Love and the Lazy Poet. And then set two open up with Hot Tea, then get a Redbird, into Hunger Sight, into You Spin Me Around Like a Record with an Arcadia Encore. Shoe Doggy, a lot of big hitters on this one. Um,
For sure.
Show got slightly delayed, I want to say. I had seen that rumbling around because of the heat. They were trying to let the sun go down a little more or let it cool down a little bit, which, part of me thinks that's a little bit counterintuitive because everyone's already parked and baking anyway. But uh,
Yeah.
they opened up with Rockdale here, and it's a hot Rockdale, even this short one, 15 minutes, man. And they just hit the
Yeah.
ground running with this one too. It just immediately is a great ride. Um, Peter's up front and center once again. I feel like I just gush on Peter all the time on this podcast, but he's just been so tremendous lately. Him and Rick are in a mind meld early on, and then Cotter's just once again kind of doing the slight Cotter shuffle thing on this one and playing in such a way that it kind of lets the jam simmer in a type 1 space that still feels very unique. Um, and then it kind of goes into a second section of this jam where it starts to pick up the pace and Rick starts introducing some more minor chord phrasing and the intensity starts to increase. And then it gets just super like earworm melodic at the end of this thing and just explodes by the end. But yeah, I'm trying to keep it brief, but Rockdale opener. And when it's short like this, you wouldn't expect it to hit so much ground, but it really did cover quite a bit. And it's one hell of a way to start a show. One of the best ways they started a show all summer, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is officially my second favorite opener in the catalog, so I love seeing this anytime. But I think that second phase or third phase, depending on how you count it, is kind of where the magic is. Peter finds a progression that's what they kind of hold their hat on, and you get some bliss feelings spliced in where you're least expecting it near the end. All in all, I guess the jam is fairly straightforward, but that feeling of the back half, I feel like, is very unique because you would expect it to come out of like a more emotional song, and it just sort of
Hmm.
develops out of thin air, but it's not thin air. It's Peter again, just being MVP.
Yeah, I'm shocked at how much I wrote down about this Rockdale, considering its runtime. It was like the most notes I wrote out about almost anything on
Yeah.
this last weekend of the tour. But yeah, tremendous way to start a show. Don't let the runtime fool you. This is a special way to start a show.
Yes.
And then Hot Love up next wound up being part of a Hot Love sandwich, but they're loving the improv on this and they're letting it ride, man.
Yeah, it keeps the energy high, opts for a more short version than what we saw when they were really, really jamming it out here recently. But yeah, really, really good. And Atlas Dogs keeps the energy up as well.
Atlas Dog's another one I really, really liked early on in this set.
Yes.
Another compact jam. This one definitely gets a little goonsy. It definitely finds more of that Burlington Atlas Dog vibes, if I'm remembering from last year right, where it gets a little bit electronic
Yeah.
coded. Um, but nice, concise jam on this one. Fun dance party continues, and I really loved kind of like the different tones that Rick was fooling around with on this during this more dancey groove. It was a different flavor than what I was expecting to hear when you start getting those drum machines going.
Yeah, Rick has been liking that digital dirgy sounding tone recently that I'm just like I adore it, and especially when you pair it with just monstrous low end from Trevor, these Goons jams have just been getting more and more fun.
Yeah, and it's a nice simmer into a Western Sun at the end of this thing too. So even though they were getting high energy dance party, it kind of slowly fizzles into a Western Sun, and this was more of like a straightforward Western Sun by my ear. I didn't go back and listen to it a ton, if I'm being honest, but um, it's just very familiar, and that's not a bad thing.
No, as a matter of fact, the only thing I wrote down about the Western Sun was just that the most fun part to me is just listening to Cotter on his own because he's perfectly pacing this thing and changing speeds a lot and just showing you all the different styles in his arsenal and how adept he is at changing tempo and on a dime. Like, oh, you guys want to go a little slower? I got you. A little faster? Okay, I got you. Just like immediately. And it's really fun when he does jams like this where he's just like controlling the tempo perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, only other thing I really wrote down was like a little bit of tension and release at the end of this thing, but otherwise, it's like very, very straightforward Western Sun
Yeah.
Jam, and that's not a bad thing. Um, Cotter is the man,
Yep. He is.
and then Madalena next. Again, another Madalena here. Rick definitely guides the band all the way through on this one, and Cotter's just matching his intensity the whole way to my ear. Just some really, really great drumming from him. Um, and then, yeah, by the end of it, it's a roaring rocker once again. But any specific notes on this Madalena?
I just love this song. I'm glad they're still jamming it, and it was really nice to hear, at least on the boards, people really reacted to this. It sounded like there was a lot of excitement at the opening of this. So glad that people are excited about Madalena.
Hell yeah. And people were excited about Wake Up too. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. It had been a long time since we saw the last Wake Up. 48 shows. Any thoughts on this cover, man? Because I remember when this was like the cover of it all in, or the song of all indie fans were like raving about that one year we were all in college or whatever, and
Yep.
it was in the freaking NFL draft and all that. Like
Yeah.
it was everywhere.
Yep. I mean, Arcade Fire is just a great band. I feel like if you listen to any sort of indie music at all, you're familiar with their arsenal. And yeah, this is just church for me. I mean, hearing Goose do
Mhm.
this.
Yeah, it's a nice cover. I hope to catch it one day. Chloe, I'll never forgive you. Anyway, no, love you. Gonna shout you out a million times on this
Folks, he
Holmdel
did
run.
say he had a great day to me that day. He said it a bunch of
I
times. He was
did.
having a great day, just to be clear.
It, it was a great day. It was a great
Yeah.
day. We went and got some
Yes.
hibachi.
There you go. Everybody loves
Who needs
hibachi.
jams when you get meats?
I I feel like Cotter would have been down for hibachi over playing a show.
Anytime you want to come over, Cotter, we'll get you some hibachi here. Um, all right. Then we close out the set with the pancakes back into hot love here. Whew, my glasses are fogging up from laughing at that so much. Um, I thought that this pancakes was like the most searching they did on a jam up to this point, even with that tremendous Rockdale to start off the show. But any thoughts on this run here?
I just thought this was really good. Again, I feel repetitive at this point, but just they've been doing such good Bliss lately, and this is like got a lot of that scaling the mountain sounding Bliss, where just exquisite lines from Trevor popping in and out, Rick soloing as only he can, bringing all the peak emotions to the jam pretty much right away. They don't waste any time at all, and then they move into this airy space while introducing more and more digital sauce effects, and we get this cool back half to the jam that sounds like it would have been very at home in the February 2025 run. Not quite goons, but dark, electronic, and fierce definitely all come to mind as this one peaks in and out, but shuts down set one with an exclamation point.
Yeah, it covers quite a bit of ground on this jam, and the transition back into Hot Love is just awesome. I did not see that coming at all. Um, but once again, got to shout out my guy Cotter. He is just the foundation the whole way through on this thing. And Peter, early on especially, he's just like slicing through the mix on everything that Rick's doing, which is tremendous on its own. And he's just kind of like coming in out of nowhere, slicing through the mix and just like blowing your mind. And then yeah, that dark side of this jam, intense, like insane. It
Yeah.
was like some of the most intense tension I can remember coming off of that early part of the Pancakes Jam, where it's just like a dance party. Um, really love this, and a great way to close out a set on a super hot day.
Yeah, this is a sleeper pancakes because it's part of a sandwich, or people are going to have in their minds as part of a sandwich. But this pancakes is sleeper for sure.
Yeah, and Rick was just relentless, dude. Like he was like in
Yeah.
freaking Zen mode, but like his fingers were flying up and down the fretboard instead of playing emotional solos. Um,
Yep.
Hot tea opener set two. I didn't have a lot of notes on this, but it was a lot of fun. It was just a big funk dance party.
Yeah, I mean, nothing gets a party going faster than a great tea. I think, I experienced that at MSG. It's just like eh, everyone loses their ever loving minds. So, the only specific that I have from this is the crunchy tension pulls at the end. The force on that section felt virtually gravitational in nature.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Huge.
Yeah, those tension pools live in the moment felt like a longer, more significant section of the song than when I went back to like try to clip it or
Yeah.
revisit it. And I was like, oh man, like they really did hit effectively, but I was like, this is like a 12-second clip that I'm trying to pull up and
Yeah.
post on my Instagram.
It's still really good though, just because of how large it sounds.
Yeah, yeah, they definitely nail that. But I was like, this is
Yeah.
not the 2 minutes I thought it was.
I hear you.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was a great way to open up the set, and then we kind of move into what I think is the highlight of the entire show. This Redbird, man, Phew. Um, not as long as the one we saw in Amsterdam by any means, but it hits a lot of really great territory on this one as well. Starts off in a nice funk rhythm, and then Peter kind of takes over, doing these really like reverb heavy clav stuff on it that really uplifts the jam to a place where Rick can start taking over, and he just soars over top of it. And Peter moves over to the keyboard to kind of match that energy. And then, it winds up moving into this huge soaring peak that's just like bubbly feels great, but also intense. And then shifts over into like a more of a heavy rock, like Metalana coated vibes
Yeah.
before transitioning into Hunger Site. But I'm trying to keep it brief, but I thought this was tremendous for what it was. And um, if they had more time on the set, because they wound up cutting both sets a little bit short, I feel like this
Yeah.
would have soared a little bit more.
For sure. I still think Redbird's having a bounce back year, and you mostly said that perfectly. The only thing I wanted to add was just that early section, like you said. I thought it was really cool, the airy section, how it was so hard at times to hear where Peter's soundscapes end and Rick's begin in the best possible way. And they kind of make it sound like they're playing in this long metal hallway to a certain extent. And it was just a very, very cool space early on.
Yeah, I didn't know how to describe it. It's like echoey, reverb heavy, like it's very
Yeah.
interesting sounds going on. Um, they've been finding some cool soundscapes with Redbird. I will say you're
Yes.
you're right about that. I'm not giving my jam a lot of credit this year, but it's having a great year.
Way, way better than last year, and much more fitting of the type of jam vehicle that it's always been.
Oh yeah. And then we get another big jam vehicle here that didn't get the longest jam, but you got to get some You Spin Me Round going. But Hunger Sight
Yeah.
into You Spin Me Round, a tremendous way to close out a set too. What a force of nature both these are. Any thoughts on this run?
Mostly just on the hunger side. And I just want to say that these always end up being this is what I kind of expected from the last hunger site we were talking about, where it's just a Rick and Cotter jam, and they're both just like, "Hey, buddy, want to go 200 miles an hour? Hell yeah, I do." And that's what happens. And it's really great every time that both of them agreed on to do that.
Yeah, yeah. This one's a barn burner through and through, even
Yep.
with the short run time, and then You Spin Me Around's just a party as it has been since it debuted. So um,
Yeah.
great way to close out the show. I'm surprised that more people weren't like passing out in this like 105-degree weather trying to dance to You Spin Me Around. But anyway,
Yeah.
great way to close out second set, and then we get an Arcadia encore. This one doesn't fly nearly as high as the one from Merriweather, but still a tremendous way to close out a show.
You just brought new meaning to Dead or Alive. But anyways, arcade.
We're going to hell.
Sorry. It was just sitting there. But anyways, I mean well, I swear. But anyways, I did like that this Arcadia just again went against type and turned into a wildly entertaining Bliss Jam, showcasing once again the best of what they can do in that regard. There's just been so much great Bliss lately.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just more compact bliss in the best kind of way. I do like when they
Yep.
leave themselves a little bit of wiggle room in an encore like this, to where you can
Yep.
get a big song like Arcade and still do it justice.
Yeah, because you got to nail the outro. So yeah, very well done. Very well said.
All right, well, that's Holmdel again. Chloe, we're going next time, even if it's on your birthday. Love you. But let's get into SPAC, dude. We're back at SPAC, first time since 2024. You were at the last run. You missed this run. You told me you were physically ill. How
Yeah.
about you read off this set list from SPAC Night 1 so you can feel a little more sickly?
Yeah, this is like missing the Super Bowl or something. Anyways, um, Echo opener is always a flawless choice. So that's where we start. And then we get a Dustin Hoffman, Strange Overtones, Pop, Born, Media, Jedstone, The Empress of Organos. And then set two gets a big thatch, good to be. Good times, end times comes back into post place again. And then So Ready with Mark Brownstein and DJ Marmenthal's. Spoiler.
DJ Mob Mentals. Pew, pew, pew. Um, where do we start, man?
Yeah.
Echo. You said tremendous opener. What do you think about this one, man? Because it blew my mind.
Yeah. This is up there for best opener of the year. I would say I like what they find almost right away. It doesn't take any time at all. Lots of introspective sounding piano from Peter, and Rick is just ever probing and searching with his lines. Pretty fast tempo too, and it's pretty awesome how much propulsion Trevor's melodic playing adds to this, as he's just in absolute lockstep with Cotter. And once Peter finds this hypnotic riff, and Rick goes over to the digital sauce to make things a little swampier, they start getting into some major key lines, and Trevor picks up on that right away, and Rick follows not too much later, and they eventually lock into this like glorious 70s style rock progression. I just love starting out a show with this variety of improv.
They like ran the gambit on this dude. It was
Yeah.
like uplifting. It was like classic rock. It got a little dark. It was all over the place in the best kind of way, and I couldn't believe how much ground they covered in this runtime. And then to top it off, the 1-2 punch I thought was the best way to start a show they've done all year, because Hoffman stopped doing the 2026 Hoffman thing and it wound up being an amazing jam on this one too. Um, but any thoughts on this Hoffman, man? Like ludicrous.
My thoughts when I heard these first two was that I didn't want to be alive anymore, because we we had plans to go to these shows and had to change our plans, and so like you just knew how special this was going to be right off the get go, just watching it. So it did the Dustin thing early, and you're like, okay. And then Peter finds this very jazzy, Steely Dan type riff, and they launch into this ultra groovy, chilled out, ambient, jazzy space. And the rhythm's fairly straightforward, but the interplay between Rick and Peter is just absolutely fabulous. And then Peter eventually moves into these dizzying riffs, and Rick uses the digital sauce to dance in and out. Trevor takes more liberties in that vein as well with his melodic playing. And they start bringing in heavier tones as they build it up and kind of start alternating back and forth between peaking and dropping. It's just a really fun jam and kind of a roller coaster.
Yeah, it kind of kept riding that wave that Echo started things off with. It was a totally different
Yeah.
vibe, obviously, but they were just again spinning the roulette wheel and being like, "All right, we're gonna try this, we're gonna try that." Um, yeah, it definitely had some tension and release that I don't. Maybe I missed you saying it when you were talking there towards the end, but I love the fact that they just ventured away from that initial 2026 Hoffman thing and went full atmospheric, full vibes, and then rode it all the way to the finish line with that roulette wheel of different sounds. It was tremendous. It was almost like jarring. Like I remember we were texting back and forth during the song, and I was like, I don't know what to think about this. It's like quiet, and then it's like in your face, like intense, and then it's back to quiet dynamics. It was just a really, really cool, interesting Hoffman because we were just expecting the 2026 thing and got something so special.
Yeah, I mean, this year Dustin's kind of been happy to exist in an ambient space, and then like they're just kind of happy to like color around the edges, so to speak. And this one was a lot more of everyone was just going to throw new ideas at it and see where it takes them. And so it just, of course, ended up being a way more adventurous jam, and we're here for it.
Here for it. Here for strange overtones too. Love that this is
Yes.
sticking around. Um, any thoughts on this cover or pop just after it?
I just love this cover so much. I'm so happy that it's staying around. It keeps getting better every play, and I love the slotting here.
Yeah, it's a set one monster, and it has been getting better every play. I totally agree with that. And then pop, it did the pop thing. It's a nice burst of energy. That
Yep.
chorus is stuck in my head ever since we brought it up in Raleigh. So it's an earworm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get this run, Born into Media. I thought this was really interesting too. You have any thoughts on Born?
Not long ones, but I thought this one was kind of similar to the MSG one. Did a little bit of the same thing, but this one was a little bit more directly and obviously dark and dirgy, but similar ballpark. Media I thought gave a little taste of the goons, which was absolutely meant to be taken in with lasers. I never knew how much Getty could level up what has already been an incredible 2026 for him, but this was everything and then some. Huge fan of this version. The breakdown and back was flawless, but Goose with lasers, man. I don't know if I can go back to regular life after that.
This was the run of songs where the lasers started kicking in. It kind of started with that like moody vibes of the Born, and then Media is like a laser song, bro. I was so
Yeah,
distracted by that shit. Like I really don't have that many notes on it other than like, oh my gosh, lasers. But
yeah,
tremendous, tremendous, and yeah, they were definitely like they definitely need to link up with the Disco Biscuits and figure out where to get some lasers like that for themselves.
yes, absolutely. Getty with both is almost unfair.
It's ridiculous, and the fact you can just like pick up their rig and just like start fucking around with it like that and make it
Yeah,
tremendous is insane, insane.
yeah. The cadence to it all, you're just like, dude, when do you have time to figure out this choreography? It's absolutely nuts.
But I will say, just my main notes on this Media, other than what you said, was just like I could not believe how blazing fast this one was. It felt like it was like on another level of speed, and it almost felt like they were trying to show off for the Disco Biscuits, like you
Yeah,
know. But it was
yeah.
great,
Some foie
great
gras.
run here.
Yep.
And then Jedstone appears once again in set one. I'm really liking this as like a cool down late in a set. And then we close out the set with a huge Empress of Organos. Clearly, they were extending this set one. It was almost 2 hours long because there was weather coming in. They were trying to use the set break as the weather delay to maximize their time. But any thoughts on either of these? Because what a way to close out a set.
Yeah, I mean, the Jed Stone gives us an emotional cool down. I thought I didn't really have a lot of specifics on Empress. I think it's really cool that it's back in the first set for the first time in over a year. That's a really big deal. And it was a very cool jam. But I mean, if you had anything specific on it, please go ahead because I just thought it was a lot of fun.
I thought it was just another one of those jams that kind of like runs the gambit of a lot of different vibes. It definitely gets dark and like a little sinister. Um, Peter starts doing that thing with his sounds on his keys where he's like doing like the tin can rattling thing at one point.
Yeah,
He adds to like the tense vibes of that dark section for sure. And then Trevor, I just thought was absolutely tremendous on this. Like he's booming all the way through. Him and Cotter, especially when it gets like really, really swampy and dark, was just like an
yeah,
insane force that contrasted what Rick was doing in the best kind of way. Um, and it wound up like giving me hints of that tremendous Empress that they played when they first played SPAC in 2023 in a lot of ways. And it was just like kind of riding that energy. Um, but it really just leaned into like the dark vibes in a lot of ways.
yeah.
And Peter exploring his rig really was what my main notes were on it. And just a fun way to close out a set. Um, you said it first time in the first set, first time in like a non one set show in set one since Milwaukee night two
Yeah.
last year.
Which was also a really slept on Empress and was really, really good. But yeah, the only specifics I had on this was there was a really patient approach to getting to the dark peaks. And at some point, there was a Green River riff. So those are the only two things I wrote
Oh,
down specifically about it. But really fun.
yeah, just fun all the way. It was like a bonus song on this tremendous set one already. Um,
Yep.
and then they timed it perfect with the weather delay, and they come back for set two. No encore, just gonna play it straight through. And they open with your favorite, dude. And it is the laws
Yep.
of our podcast that you must talk about Thatch when it comes on a set list.
Yeah, it's Redbird for you. It's Thatch for me, but I will happily oblige. Perfect set opener. Thatch does the funky thing early, but one of the cool wrinkles to me was Peter early on was doing some keys that sounded similar to almost like an Eminence front vibe. And then they kind of take those airy, ethereal textures and lean into it. Not too far removed from the middle section of the bend thatch with that ambient kind of space, but then they opt for some major key bliss, gentle, airy textures, and then Rick switches to minor key runs that kind of gradually shift it back towards dark. This is pretty mature improv in my mind. They're very quickly vacillating between different ideas and making their points quickly and efficiently and not overstaying their welcome. The dark ending section is incredible. Rick moving from Fox Arrow style aggressive riffs and chugging electronic overdrive power chord riffing. This is Dark Goose at its best. Huge fan of this jam. Very highly ranked for me.
Yeah, it's my highlight of the show from my taste,
Yeah.
and the way they just like seamlessly navigated from like uplifting, peaceful, tranquil vibes to like the darkest sludge ever heard in a thatch was tremendous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a
Absolutely.
big fan of this one. It's gonna rank high for me for sure, and something about that spec energy just makes it extra special.
My biggest problem right now is my top 10 has too many Thatches and too many big moderns. I guess that's not really that big of a problem, but it's the way it's going.
Yeah, between this and Charleston, it's just unreal. Like
Unreal.
Thatch is
Yeah.
having a monster year once again. Um, and the transition into Good to Be was
Oh,
so
yeah.
slick, bro. Oh my god, they hit that peak, and then it was just like the just glided right into Good to Be, and this was just a fun dance party after that roller coaster that was Thatch. I thought this one didn't stray too far from the Good to Be formula too much, but was a nice infusion of dance after a lot of tension to end that Thatch.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. This was a show where all the improv is kind of first set to the Thatch, and then it kind of, for the most part, stops from there. But shame on me for not mentioning the transition. The transition is flawless. Good to Be does the Good to Be thing very well for an extended period of time. I thought it fit really well here as far as picking the vibes back up and before going into some, slightly more emotional stuff with the other big modern material.
Mm. Yeah, the Good Times End Times run tremendous. Nocturne at SPAC, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, Forget about it.
Surprised Wolverine didn't
Absolutely.
bust out of the wall, dude.
And I think of that
Um,
every time.
oh, me too. It's like the greatest piece of content we've ever put together. Um,
Easily.
Shortest post place we've gotten so far, only 4 minutes. I feel like that would have definitely gotten more runtime if you didn't have the weather stuff going on. But they maximized their time here, no encore break, and went into this tremendous "So Ready," where they brought on Mark Brownstein from the Disco Biscuits, as you mentioned, and DJ Marmenthal's made his appearance. Any thoughts on this "So Ready"?
I mean, my main thoughts were this is epic. I expected Brownie to show up at some point in this set, so that was a little bit expected for me. DJ Marmenthal's was not expected for me, especially not on night one. So, what a cool way to end a absolutely just shut down concert.
Yeah, it was like 7-ish minutes of like Goon's improv that we really got, and like all I could think listening back for this episode was like we were robbed by lightning of like 10 more minutes
Yeah.
of this because it's so good, dude. It's
Yep.
so good. And clearly the influence of foie gras has like made the goons go totally next level. And I feel like maybe this Disco Biscuits appearance between this and Gonzo might be what's making it go even more next level at this point. Um, but just thought it was tremendous, and obviously DJ Marmenthal's is the greatest thing to happen to planet Earth. So um, I'll take more of that
Yeah.
at big shows. Honestly, like it's nice to see him branching out of just Goosemas and Gonzo.
Yeah, and that's what made it such a special treat is that you think of that kind of being reserved for like destination events, and not that SPAC is not a destination event. I get that on a holiday weekend, no less, but still just wasn't expecting it. And so very, very cool.
Yeah, um, just tremendous. And you mentioned it, like Mark had Instagrammed out. I want to say that stay tuned. I'm gonna be on stage later, so he kind of like spoiled it a little bit
Yeah.
during the show. But I'm glad that he got at least a few minutes because it is some of the best goons that we've heard to date. Such a cool vibe.
Yeah. I think with how much they've been collabing lately, anyone could have predicted that he was going to be on stage at some point either way. It's just to get him to take Trevor's place so that Trevor could do his epicness was just like, all right, this was totally unexpected.
Oh yeah. So that's night one, and we don't need to talk about night
Yep.
two because night one was so epic. Like, forget it, right?
Yeah. Night two was not that great.
Oh my
People are
gosh,
saying.
stop it! Spec night two. Who's saying that? Idiots are saying that. Anyway, July 4th, holiday. I don't
Yep.
remember who has to read this one off. Am I supposed to read this one off or you?
It doesn't matter. We could flip a
I'll
coin.
read it because
I don't have a coin.
I don't have a coin either, and I don't remember the last time I've had a coin. Um, Night two, it's Spec,
Just
baby.
go for it.
It opens up with same old shenanigans, and then get a Your Direction, and then get the Seeker Suite, Seekers Part 1 and Part 2, then get an All I Need, Scavenger, and Animal to close out set 1, and then set 2 opens with a Drip Field into a Monkster, then get a Tumble into Don't Leave Me This Way, closing with an encore of US Blues. Everyone saw that coming a mile away, and I'm so glad it made an appearance. I was getting worried by the end there. Um, so let's talk about this SOS opener, Your Direction, and Seeker Suite all together. I think is probably the best way to do this.
Yes.
Any thoughts on any of this run?
I don't really have any notes, so I'll defer to you. I think that SOS is continuing its strong set one run, and I think that this is a very good run of songs and great set listing.
Yeah, I really SOS continued to do the SOS 2026 thing in the best kind of way. I thought that Peter was doing some cool stuff that it wasn't like super unique by any means compared to the other ones, but I really noticed his work on the clav and the organ during this, and then it almost felt like by the end there they were really building like layer by layer on that peak versus it just being more of like a we're gonna dance the fuck around. It was a little more intent. It felt like behind it. Um,
Sure.
but yeah, energetic start. And then Your Direction, Seekers Part 1 and Part 2. I don't have a lot of notes. I think Seekers gets a bad rap from like the sickos, but it seems to be one of the crowd's favorite runs every time
Yeah.
I look at the feedback and I watch the crowd too.
Yeah, everyone sings that one full throated every single time, and I don't get sick of hearing that suite, honestly. I wish they would add a jam onto it at some point. Like, yeah, like they did in Philly. That was absolutely life changing, but it's still a great set of songs. And I thought this was a good bunch here to get things going.
Yeah, it's the start of set one, and it's a hot
Yep.
day. People are
Yes.
settling in slow. Um, and then all I need. Oh man, we get the bonus jam finally. First time in almost 4 years. It was since August 12th, 2022, dude. Almost 4 fucking years since we got this bonus jam, and everyone collectively lost their shit. But I want to hear your
Yeah.
thoughts on this. All I need. I've geeked out about this enough.
I was going to let you go first because I know you have been wanting the second jam for so long. Um, But yeah, I thought this was a great jam. Very original start. Instead of going for bliss as they have done so often lately, they delay and go off into like minor key psychedelic jamming early. A lot of interesting textures from Peter. No surprise there from how things have been lately. Big riffing from Rick. And then back to the chorus, which was a little bit disappointing just because what they were doing at that point was so interesting. But we get the return of the second jam. So who am I to complain? And the major key second jam has some really tasty improv as well. Nothing to sneeze at here. Lots of airy synth work from Peter, busy riffs from Rick and Trevor that buoy a lot of the fast rising bliss. And they don't waste such a special treat in bringing this back. Gave us truly a special and powerful bliss jam here, as has been the case often lately, but not in second jams for all I need.
Not yeah. I mean, they could have done anything with the first part of this All I Need
Yeah.
jam. Doing the second jam is incredible. Um,
Yeah.
but it initially listening to it when they started getting into like that like almost like metal dark coded section and then like ripped it back into All I Need. I was like, oh my god, dude, what are we doing? And then you saw the
Yeah.
shit-eating grin on Rick's face, and he's like looking with one eye over at Cotter during the last chorus, and I was like, okay, it's coming. And then sure enough, they hit
Yeah.
that note, and it's the second jam, and oh my gosh, it was driving all the way. It wasn't like legendary in terms of like what they explored with it by any means, but the fact that it's back and it hit just such a tremendous peak and got such a crowd pop is all I needed on All I Need.
Well said. Yeah. But that being said, they should go back to that texture they found early on some point soon because it was
Hmm.
interesting.
And then after that big moment, we get the Scavenger Suite. And I don't have a ton of notes on this either, other than I love Scavenger. I love everything about this run. Um, I think it's such a great burst of energy. I think it's become quickly a crowd favorite. But we got to talk about this animal, dude. Holy
Yeah.
shit. Quick turnaround on animal, but worth it.
I think it resets all expectations for this as a jam vehicle with this version. Do you want to go first? 'Cause I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I like that it took a turn early on this animal from what you normally expect with like the major key upbeat funk with it, and it goes really kind of dark coded and it immediately starts hitting the ground running with that electronica feel to it. And eventually it starts off like lightly coded in that way and just becomes like full goons eventually. But I like how patiently they kind of rode with that early on. Um, and all the while, like Cotter once again feels like it was his jam in a lot of ways with the way he was driving the different rhythm they were exploring with this, but um, he was just continuing to find different pockets on this jam and driving the way that the rest of the band was playing rhythmically, which I found to be very, very impressive. Um, and the intensity on this goons that was like dark coded, but also explored a lot of emotion in my opinion was just tremendous. I have so many notes, I don't even know where to look, and my glasses are fogging up. It's like I'm so excited. Um, so I'm doing a really bad job here, but it's literally the greatest animal I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I'll try and paint a through line and synthesize some of that, but I love the fun and funky start. The minor key, semi goont space that they get in the middle is really really cool. I do want to point out that the tension before one of the boldest drum pockets Cotter has achieved so far and a drop that was so worth the wait. And then after all that dark goons, you get what is to me probably the best part of it, a fire pocket for like a funky dance party in this last session. Cotter really shows you all the tools in his kit, every tempo and technique possible. And then, kind of the same story for all of the band. Rick rotates through so many scales and riffs and combines that with dynamic rhythmic parts. Trevor plays everywhere and everything. Peter shifts over every instrument and often straddles them, doing 2 to 3 things simultaneously, as has been the case for all of 2026. So unbelievable jam, covers a lot of ground. A lot of people are going to have this as their jam of the year. It's certainly top 10 for me, but yeah, completely resets all expectations for this as a jam vehicle.
Yeah, the dark section would have been enough by itself to make this a standout animal, and then
Yes.
they did that second dance section you talk about, and oh my god, it's like some of the highest energy, most intense stuff they did this entire tour, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, the only other thing I wanted to highlight, because you said it so well, and now I can actually read this better without my foggy glasses from getting hot and bothered by this animal, um, is the way that they went back into the animal outro. It still had like, it was like very goons coded. It was still like writing that syncopation that Cotter had kind of driven the whole way through, like that I mentioned, and it was really interesting sounding. It definitely like
Yeah.
fumbled it a little bit, but it still worked by the time they kind of got caught themselves stumbling there and they caught their groove.
Yeah, it's that third section for me that makes this truly noteworthy. Like to your point, it would have been super noteworthy with just the Dark Goons on it, but that's been combined with so many different tracks in their catalog at this point that it's not as shocking. But to get just the absolute unbridled chaos of that third section where everybody's just like, I got an idea. I got an idea. Like it just felt like every hand in the classroom was going up. So, yeah, that's what makes it really special for me.
Yeah. You should see how big my font is on my computer right now that I took my glasses off. Anyway, I was so hot
Paper
and
notes
bothered
for
by this
Alex moving
animal.
forward.
I know. What's wrong with me lately? Anyway, yeah, that's animal. It's gonna be very high on my playlist, I'll be honest. But
Yeah.
I don't know about my favorite of the year, but it's up there.
I think I have it 6 right now.
I haven't even started to think about slotting these last few weeks, but it's gonna be in my top 5, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Well, that's set one. And set two opens
Yep.
with the second biggest highlight of the night for me with this drip field. Holy crap, dude. Another insane journey of sound here. But I want to hear your thoughts on this one first.
Well, first of all, I think this is only the fourth time that it's opened a second set. So using it here as an opener, whether it's the fourth or not, I don't know. It's just been very few times, but it's a really good call. I love the early section, drums and bass, loud and heavy. It's not blissy, but definitely more major key and lighter start than a lot of drip fields, texturally, anyways. But I love when Rick moves to the crunchy electronic tone. And then after a nice and bouncy first section, they slow things down and they really take time letting an airy and ethereal space develop, which is kind of unique for drip. Lots of cavernous space on this one. And then you get the gentle piano rolls and the melodic lines from Trevor. And Rick kind of picks up on all of that energy and switches to a clean tone. And then everyone's just kind of like gently bumping into each other and intersecting while Cotter just plays extremely lightly. And then Rick starts audiating over his playing at a pretty high pitch. And this augments the jam in a very unique way and starts increasing the otherworldly spiritual effect that this jam has on me. Nice build, which is patient, but also escalates dramatically in the same breath, in no small part due to the thunderous bass lines and deliberate increase in intensity from Cotter. And then Rick kind of matches that and surpasses their intensity right away. And then this goes to a thunderous peak. So this is going to be a hard drip field to beat for a while.
I was muted there. Sorry.
You're
You're
good.
taking me through like the gambit of emotions there, man. Oh my gosh. It's got so much restraint and patience early on in that one section. Trevor's absolutely tremendous during that. And like you said it so well, like Rick starts picking up on that energy, and the part where he starts vocalizing over of his guitar playing is, I love that he's been doing that this year. I hope to catch that
Yes.
at a show. You were so lucky to catch that slow radio where he did that, and
Yeah,
it's just like so moving, dude. It's
it
so
is.
moving. And then, you're floating in that section for a while, and it starts getting heavy out of nowhere all of a sudden. Like you're going like in like ripping Nirvana style power chords at one point.
Yeah.
It gets really, really, really aggressive, and then really rocking. So I thought this was quite the journey. I can't say it much better than you, and um, I really like when they open a set with a song like Dripfield like this that doesn't get as much love in a slot like this because it sure beats the alternative where it's like crammed into an encore and you don't get to explore stuff as cool as this.
Yeah, and I think this drip field and the animal too are kind of just emblematic of like what has been one of the biggest developments with Goose this year, which is, if you flash back even just to, when we first started this podcast, the tools that they had at their disposal, could fit into a short story, like the things that they could pull out in a jam. But now it's like they've got an encyclopedia, like they can go Goons, he can audiate, they have all these different like tricks and textures that they can bring into things, and it just feels like at this point anything is possible with the improv on any song. And it's just like what a happy place this is to be as a Goose fan, where it's just like any show you just like, I genuinely do not know what's going to happen. Some things you can predict and expect, of course, but the improv is in the most amazing space it's ever been in.
Yeah, I couldn't believe what was going on that outro where like the dynamics were just locked in and they were exploring so much melodic expression during that each individually, and then Cotter of course just relentless, especially on the cymbals. Like it was just like a
Yeah.
constant onslaught of cymbal work. I just really love this strip field, and if it wasn't for that tremendous animal, like this would be like what everyone's geeking out about. But again,
Yeah.
Spac's incredible, man.
I have
um
this at 9. So, I mean, that's how good this weekend was.
yeah, boom. SPAC weekend, never miss a SPAC run.
Never again.
God. And it doesn't stop because you get a Monster right after, like one of the
Yes.
greatest covers. Tremendous. I'm sure that literally they need to inspect the foundation of SPAC after that Amongster.
Yeah. Amongster is so powerful. And this is another one where every time it just feels like the ground is going to sweep out from under you laterally.
Yep. Yeah. The bass. I've never felt the bass resonate through my body quite like Amongster made me feel when I saw it at Westville, and I hope everyone at SPAC got that same feeling because it's the best.
And the heavy synths, like, I mean, they like conjure to mind like Never Let Me Down by Depeche Mode, like just that like heaviness to it. It just, yeah, it rips through your soul.
Yeah, totally. And Tumble also rips through your soul into Don't Leave Me This
Yes.
Way. What a way to close out a set, dude.
Yeah.
Peak.
I just, I mean, it's almost no words for it. And Rick like almost telegraphs the "Don't leave me this way" pretty much immediately, and you're just like, okay, so this is going to be like the most fun 15 minutes ever, and you know what? It is.
It really is. It's a great way to close out a set when you're in a little bit of a condensed time crunch. They had about a half an hour between these two songs, and you can't get out of here without playing a great "Don't Leave Me This Way," dude. Like you got it on
Yeah.
the set list. There's no way you're not playing it when it's on the set list. Um, and the crowd loved it. Clearly, like they loved it all the way through Tumble. It was just kind of like an extension of those vibes all the way through. Um, and I like was watching the shots where like the camera like kind of goes upside down that they're doing on Nugs now, where it's like the overhead camera,
Yes.
and people just losing their collective shit in that crowd was the most like amazing thing to watch, even from home, during this run, especially.
And just really excited that I feel like they're at a good place with this one too, because I think some people were getting a little bit sick of how often "Don't Leave Me This Way" was popping up, but only second play of the year, first time since the opener of this year. I think it's at a good spot where I don't think anyone really wants this to go away permanently because it's just too much fun. You have to have it around, but they're not overdoing it either. So perfectly placed.
Yeah, and I think it's important to like take a step back when there's runs like that. Like "Don't Leave Me This Way" was having, running up that hill was having,
Yeah.
Kylie is having currently. It's like Goose is so good about like mixing things up. Like it's only a temporary thing, and let's enjoy it while we got
Yeah.
it.
They're going to get a sense for when
Um,
it needs a breather again. They've got the most covers they can play of any band ever, so it'll be fine.
you're not kidding. And they close out with another big one, U.S. Blues on
Yeah.
4th of July. get Al Schneider from Mo up on stage, and what a great finale to the show, man.
Yeah, and from what I heard, the Mo played a really good set, and I looked at their set list. A lot of their best songs were included, and a lot of people showed up for that. So, um, really cool also in this performance to see how happy Rick is. Uh, I see how happy he is with Julian Lage. He definitely idolizes Mo to a certain extent, as they were first introduction to jam bands for a lot of us. So, just really, really cool. This is one of the only dead covers I'm still chasing from Goose. I've heard most of the rest of them. um, so yeah, phenomenal end to a just party of a weekend in SPAC.
Yeah, the sing along was intense. It's back. I saw like every face I looked at in that crowd during the video. I saw them singing every word of U.S. Blues, and
Yep.
the overall camaraderie. I hope there's a lot of Mo fans there enjoying the Goose set because it just seemed like everyone had arms around shoulders and just was singing along passionately and just a fun way to kick off a night of fireworks and partying. I'm sure.
Yeah. It ended exactly how it should have.
Hmm. And that is this leg of the summer tour. Any last thoughts on SPAC or any of it before we close out this episode, buddy?
No, like I said earlier, Goose has never been in a better place. So I can't even imagine, because I know they are going to level up here like they always do in every break, and Getty will level up, and each one of them will have new tricks that they'll come back with. So my brain's ready to explode all over again by the time we get to August.
Oh my goodness. I can't wait. In the meantime, we'll hopefully have a lot of cool episodes between now and then to keep you guys held over while we don't have Goose shows for a
Yep.
month and a week. Um, And we were so excited to jump into the shows. Forgot to mention, if you're interested in the show, follow our socials at SlowReadyPod. If you have episode ideas, send us an email, slowreadypod@gmail.com. We just wanted to jump right in. I did. Sorry, Mike. I kind of cut you off at the beginning there, but got to shout that out. And yeah, thanks for tuning in if you made it this far. Hopefully, you've had a safe summer so far and hope to see you on the road.
Yep. See you soon.